Oh, hey everyone. Sorry about that.
Hello. Welcome everybody to this episode of Let's Chat Live. It's a show where we do weekly live interviews to connect you with the voices behind the podcast that you want to listen to. I am your host, Robert. With me today is Chris Revel of Let's Chat. Hello, Mr. Revel.
Hey Robert, how are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I love that getting to see you on here more and get to rotate around with you. It's been fun.
It's been a while, so
it all feels the same. Time wise.
Bree kind of threw it on me at first, and then I got used to doing it every Tuesday and Thursday, and then all of a sudden she's like, no, I want to do it again. I was like, but I was having fun. So
well, we always love having you on.
Well, thank you. So, I love being here.
First, what's up, C-Ball? All right, well, enough about us. Why don't we bring on our wonderful guests?
All right.
Boom, boom. Hey, Thomas, how are you?
Great. How's it going?
I'm excellent. Great to talk. We were talking before a little bit before we actually started. And coming up from the Great North, first off, pretty cool.
Yeah, you know it. It's very cool, actually. It's definitely in the minuses as you would expect.
Oh my!
Being from the Great North.
Oh my goodness, that's so fun. So we're really excited. We've been really enjoying everything that you've been doing. I always pronounce it wrong, so that's why I'm going to try not to screw up your name again. How do you say your show's name again? I don't want to mess it up.
It's called Evisceradio.
Evisceradio. Yes, yeah, that's dyslexia's finest. I love that name.
Yeah. I like Sweden. It's actually the only name that I could think of that named the show has been like Thomas's Metal Tunes or something like that.
That would have been less fun of a show. Tom's Metal Tunes.
Yeah, right. Lots of people listening to that.
So did you grow up a metalhead?
I did. Oh yeah, I most definitely did. I was listening to metal, man, in the single digits for sure. My first album I ever owned was Megadeth Peace Cells at Who's Buying at 8 years old, I think.
Wow, damn, that's awesome.
Which I still own.
Yeah, mine was Weird Al, so I think you're doing better than I am in the music department.
Oh, the Weird Al's no slouch, man. That's still good taste to me.
Yeah, I think it was Bad Hair Day was the first physical CD I ever bought. It was like that. I remember it was like I went to Circuit City with my parents. I bought Weird Al's Bad Hair Day, No Doubt Tragic Kingdom, and Space Jam soundtrack, which I think that makes a lot of sense to everyone listening.
Yeah. Tragic Kingdom is awesome.
Yeah, it is. And the Space Jam soundtrack was pretty dope at the time. But Tragic Kingdom definitely holds up, I would say, the best. The most metal of the three, I would say.
Yeah. I was going to say my first album was a cassette because, I'm that old. Although I did have actual albums before the cassette. But the first album I bought myself was Def Leppard Hysteria.
Right on.
Oh, we were including tapes. I meant physical CDs. I think I had a Bee Gees and Alvin and the Chipmunks tape as well.
Yes.
And maybe some Coolio. Yeah.
Coolio.
Yeah. What was I thinking, man? Yeah. I feel like we can go on a whole tangent now about the hybrid the hybrid of metal and hip hop. It's like with Anthrax and Aerosmith and the importance that played into our culture a little too quickly here.
Man. Yeah.
Like the first time here in Bring the Ruckus, Tony Hawk Pro Skater was like,
I was listening to metal since I was 8 years old. There was a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers thrown in there as well. Okay. And it never really stopped. I mean, I'm a fan. I came to be a fan of pretty much everything that's out there, with a few exceptions. I still think Dr. John is the best musician on this planet.
For Shanti?
Respect.
Dr. John. Mac Renback, Night Tripper, Right Place, Wrong Time. Yeah, hell yeah, man. So good. Best album ever is Right Place, In the Right Place is the name of it.
I'm going to Spotify this afterwards.
Do yourself a favor. And
what was it called again? I'm sorry. I just want to write that down.
Yeah. What was it called? It was Dr. John is the artist, and In the Right Place is the name of the album. and you won't find anything better than that. I like swear up and down, it's the best album in the whole world.
I wrote down a note in my book that said "listen" and then an arrow pointing up. We're all like all music fans here and whatnot. But like, so how did you? What's your merger from going from music fan to radio / podcast?
Well, okay, that's a good question. So throughout my entire life, I've just been like buying CDs, and the purchasing of said CDs had outlasted the whole Napster thing and the onslaught of the MP3, as it were. And I just like I would go through that phase, but I would keep buying them. But then it got to a point like, holy crap, I can put these tunes on my phone. I don't need to play these CDs, but I would still buy the CDs. And then I had no justification for this. And then like about 3 years ago, like I'm getting up into the 500s and I'm just buying and they're being shelved. And I started to realize that this is an issue. and so I needed to kind of like figure out what I was going to do, because I enjoyed buying them, but I'm not doing anything with them. Like, what am I going to do here? And so the podcast was sort of born out of the need to justify buying CDs, because now I listen to CDs exclusively, like via the show and just like hanging out at home and stuff. And so that's how the show kind of came about. And then also, I know lots of people who do their own kind of podcasts. I'm not afraid in front of a microphone. I've been working in the entertainment industry for quite a while, and I'm just full of shit enough that I can actually make it work. So, that's sort of just how it came about. And then I wound up like just buying all the gear that I needed and got set up through a buddy's, like, he has his own like Sam broadcast, 24-hour syndication sort of thing. So I jumped on that, and then it just sort of took off from there. Now I'm on Pure Rock Radio at Saskatchewan, which is Canada's #1 rock podcast, internet radio station.
Yeah, I do the same thing, like internet radio podcasts. Like I guess within the industry there's a distinction, but to any listener, you're like, what? It's all the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's semi-different, I guess, technically speaking. You said, what do you do? You worked in the entertainment industry. You said, what was your background there?
On paper, I am an audio engineer, but
nice.
My checks came from working in theater as like the head stage carpenter. Basically, I'm an entertainment rigger. So counterweight systems, flying Peter Pan, Mary Poppins around. If something was suspended in the air, I was the person who installed it and operated it during a show. Or if you go to concerts and you happen to look up at the truss and there's speakers and lights and stuff hanging from the ceiling, well, I'm the person that goes up in the rafters and pulls all the chain hoists to do all that kind of stuff.
So when I went to go see Prince, I remember in Hartford, there was a person that I had to watch climb up a ladder and sit there and manually do the light. So you're like that guy?
That would be the lighting technician who is on equipment that I would have flung in the air.
Okay, that is so cool. And Robert, you're a fellow theater worker.
I am. I do mostly production management now, but I started out as an electrician and lighting designer.
You've got that tech in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so cool.
But I've been doing it forever, man. And I kind of had my fill with theater. That's a bad way of putting it. I'm theater's in the bones for sure, but like I needed a change. And before COVID had hit, I already had plans to move to Toronto, which is further west of where I'm at right now, which is Nova Scotia. And then COVID had hit, so I'm delayed about a year, but in a couple of weeks I'll be going up there to jump into film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be going into film.
Oh my goodness! So when you're working on like a Marvel movie, don't forget us.
I won't. Don't worry about that. If you guys are Trekkies, that's the one I'm actually shooting for.
Nice.
For which one?
Star Trek Discovery.
Oh boy, my wife should not hear this.
I don't know if I'm gonna get it, but that's what I'm gonna be shooting for. I've got some pull in certain places, so I might be able to find myself.
Oh yeah, our part of we have one of our Let's Chat teams, Sanetta. She's a filmmaker based in Toronto. I'll have to connect you with her afterwards. She's part of our crew, and she's like awesome, and we fucking love her very much. But
yeah, pass my contacts on for sure.
Oh yeah, you'll love her. Oh, that's so rad. That is so cool. Yeah, dude, Toronto's. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. So one of the things that I think that kind of took me not by surprise, but like metal can have such a negative connotation of what you see with like when you think of a metalhead. Your hair is not down to your ass, and you're you're not goth essentially. A normie is what we'd call that. I'm like, so like if someone like has never listened to your show before, like what's a good starting point? Like what's a good first episode, and like what could someone expect if they never listen to one?
If someone wanted to check out my stuff for the first time.
Yeah, like if anyone listens, like I want to check out an episode. Like, is your show chronological or is it like more anthology? You can just grab one.
You just grab one and go. I would just say, they're all equally as awesome as the last one. There's no continuity to them. It's just me and 2 hours worth of CDs of me just talking nonsense into a microphone. And that's pretty much it. One of the things that they can look forward to in terms of like just checking out one of the shows is that a lot of the times, like there's no set playlist. Like I can't pick and choose like a stack of CDs. I just like I will. Oh, sorry, I'll pick a stack, but what winds up going on is what kind of goes on. Like I'll play things in terms of flow, or I might change my mind, or I don't like the direction it's going. I'll just throw it on there. Half the stuff that I play is stuff that I haven't really listened to or haven't really broken. So like cool. You're getting a lot of cold listens. There's the 2-hour show which I do on Mondays. Like the 2-hour main show, which is on Mondays, 5 p.m., 7 p.m. Atlantic. And that's like more like the playlist random theme if I feel like an episode. But every Friday, if you like to listen to albums, from start to finish, the way nature intended that shit to be, then you can listen to that episode without any of my nonsense, like me talking over it. Like I'll intro the album and I'll just play it start to finish uninterrupted. And then they do have YouTube for that kind of thing, I guess, but that's just a spot that I can do for people who like to just listen to some dope albums they might have never heard of instead of like just going and searching for some shit. I
love that.
That's awesome.
When you said the album as they intended, I'm like, oh boy. I'm wondering maybe you have some thoughts about Spotify that aren't great.
I couldn't care less. I mean, I don't use it personally. However you want to get music is however you want to get music. In the end, it's music, man. Like whether it's some guy who collects CDs like a chump, or like downloads Spotify and MP3s and stuff like that. As long as you're enjoying what you're getting, I can't justify not paying the artist. I buy my music so I can support the artist. It's either through the label or through Bandcamp or whatever. Or if I'm desperate, I'll go on Discogs or Amazon. But like. Man, like if Spotify's your jam, Spotify's your jam. Good for you. At least you're listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I love having physical copies of things. Although having small children makes that a little bit harder right now. So I'm kind of in a delay.
I know for sure. I understand. I've none myself.
Yeah. No, I made the mistake. I used to buy. I'm a big movie collector, so I've got tons. And my wife is asleep, so she can't complain about it right now. But I, have hundreds and hundreds of DVDs and Blu-rays. And I've made the mistake once of leaving them in a place where my 6-year-old was, I don't know, 1 or 2, and I came in and he had like 3 of them popped out, and those are in the trash now. So I was like, sweet. So these are all going in a box for like 10 years.
Yep, that's exactly where they're going.
Yeah. And then you'll come back and you'll be like, I gotta find a DVD player.
Yeah, it's like, do they even make these anymore?
Oh my god, finding the like the disc players for the show was kind of it was a fluke. was a real fluke. They just don't make that kind of stuff anymore, unless you're into like playing CDs boutique through tube amps, and like you can get like a one tray player for like 10 grand or some shit. Like,
yeah,
Yamaha makes like a $10,000 CD player. Like,
10,000?
of course.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Because there's a market. Somebody's gonna buy that.
Jack White. You mean Jack White? Jack White's gonna buy it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's like the only person I could think of that would spend that much money on a tube amps and all that weird stuff.
Nah.
But hey, he's keeping the vinyl. Well, not solely, but he's definitely a piece of why vinyl being back to what it is, like at least somewhat of a piece of like the vinyl revival, at least in the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah, he's definitely had something to do with it. I mean, such a weird thing because I feel like I have an Instagram account, and a lot of the people who I follow and vice versa are like they take pictures of like CD, their vinyls and stuff like that. And I can't help it. Like some of it's just mainly for the image itself. Like I collect vinyl. Well, name 3 songs off that album.
Yeah, or like digital download. Yeah. I tried to get into vinyl for like a few months, and I bought like a bunch, and I'm like, they look cool, but I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to half and then turn it off. I mean, I do once in a while, but like, I found the hunt of vinyl more fun than actually sitting and listening to it.
Yeah, it is definitely about the pursuit, for sure. The battle between the finding and whatever your screening process is, and versus the time to listen to it, are two different beasts altogether. I like vinyl is just too expensive. I never grew up on vinyl either, so I don't have that nostalgia connection to it. But CDs, I guess I do, and they're cheaper to make. They last longer. They're easier to move, and, so on and so forth. You could argue CDs over vinyl and the other way around all day. Really, just it's all preference.
Yeah.
At least you're an audio engineer, so you have like a leg to stand on. But like personally, I can't tell the difference between any of the. I know there's a difference, but audio wise, I don't hear any difference.
Nah, there is a difference depending on a number of factors. But as soon as you start saying one is better than the other, then I stop losing interest in what you have to say.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's apples. It's apples, oranges, man. Like. Yeah. In my personal opinion. Someone else could think I'm a tool for just even uttering that, but
the more niche a community, the more nitpicky jerk people become over stuff. Like people get like the more like hyper niche something is, you get more elitism within it, which is always so much fun. Sure.
I call it being precious.
I love that.
Pretty precious. I'm guilty of it. I'm precious about certain things too.
Oh God, me too.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to the website The Hard Times by any chance?
No.
It's like a satirical news site. It's now past it, but like I'm friendly and interviewed like the metal czar of that. But they do like they'll just it's started off as like a scene humor internet like what they call it. It really kind of started as like the punk rock onion essentially, and now it's kind of grown for that. I've interviewed Dan Kozu, who's like the metal guru. So like I should have pulled up. I'll have to pull up some of his headlines because they're just like, oh man, I just love anytime anyone can make fun of that kind of stuff because it comes with a place of love because they're all also like metalheads. Like he does so many headlines about like oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. What was Lemmy's band? Motorhead. Yeah, like oh God, or God, like Primus. Like there's people who get really strong opinions about Primus. Like that's a fan base it's a band I personally never cared for, but I've had people harass me for insulting them more than once.
Oh yeah, I can say that about certain Slayer fans too. Some people are very, very precious about Slayer.
Oh, that well, there's one headline. There's one Hard Times article. It's like just because I'm a Slayer fan doesn't mean I'm a felon. But yeah, I'm a felon.
I'm a felon.
But yeah, I'm a felon. Oh my God, that's just.
I would surprise a lot of them. I'm sure probably have had some run-ins. Man, Slayer's notorious for having a rabid fan base.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's So what bands did you grow up with that you kind of care that are still kicking around?
Megadeth was band number 1, and I think they're 14 albums deep. They got a 15th coming out this year. They're still doing it.
I guess Metallica, obviously.
Metallica, yeah, that would have been high school. I mean, I was listening to Megadeth when I was, like I said, 8, but I never even heard any Metallica until like I was maybe like 17. Who else would there be? I guess Rammstein.
Were you a Dio fan?
No.
Too poppy.
No, I was not that as poppy. I couldn't get past his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was an Ozzy guy. Like I was more into the Ozzy solo stuff.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, like I went through a hardcore like Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman phase for sure.
When Ozfest was all the craze for those years, like when that would come around. I had a friend in high school, a couple of friends in high school. They were like really into neoclassical. So I had this like little like 3-month period where I tried really hard to get into like Yngwie Malmsteen and In Flames and like Children of Bodom, and like they were also incredible guitar players. So like, I remember I think we saw In Flames open up for Mudvayne, and I didn't even like Mudvayne, but they wanted to see In Flames, and I respect the hell out of it. But like I like it. It's just not my favorite. It's like Dragon Force. I have to be in the mood for Dragon Force.
Yeah. I totally get that. In Flames was a big Napster era find.
Yes.
Out of all the bands that I downloaded, In Flames was the one that like I really tried to get everything from them. And not just that, but like it was all the acoustic stuff that they did, and like the earlier shit back in the day. I just really, really dug. I got to see them live on Gigantor in 2008. I've got their drum. I was a dude who caught the fucking drumstick at the end of the set. So I got that, so I could hang on to that. But In Flames was definitely another band that was a teenage years band for sure. Trying to download all that stuff on like a 14.4 dial-up modem. You can see the smoke and coming.
It's insane thinking about that now.
What, the 14.4?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
right.
The things that we
trying to fire the internet up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I was like, hold on, let me try and think about all that, because I my brother and I used to stay up really late on Friday or Saturday nights to watch Headbangers Ball with Ricky Rackman on MTV. And the what was that? That would have guessed been the mid 90s. There's so many, and yeah, you said Megadeth, and I've just got to like go on a Dave Mustaine kick now, and just it's been way too long since I've listened to how amazing.
Yeah, I grew up in like the hardcore scene, so there was like always a lot of metal hardcore crossover. Like Hatebreed is from the town where I grew up. They were ahead of me age wise, but that I remember when they were Headbangers Ball the first time. That was a bit. I think it might have been before my time, but I remember like that being like a thing. It'd be like someone from Connecticut's on MTV.
Yeah, the show was amazing.
That could like make or break you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Back when MTV showed music. I know. Which that's like two generations. That joke is now like 2 generations old. Because now like the younger generation, like back when MTV used to show, I don't know, just reality TV, and now it's like I don't even know what the hell they do anymore.
I honestly don't know.
On it.
I
don't know much about MTV or anything like that.
You have much music up there, right?
We got much music, but I grew up in bumpkin country, man. I had like 2 channels, and like I lived so far in the backwoods that like if it rained on the right day, you might get some reception on the television.
But you had Napster?
But I had Napster, yeah.
Yeah. I gotta ask you guys, how many songs have you like downloaded by a band and you got older and find out? You remember like I remember you would download something on Napster and people would lie about it. They'd be like, you're downloading like Elton John, and it would be like Anal Cunt or something like that. But there was a few times where I remember like it ended up being the band, and I forgot who they said it was. It would be labeled like Real Big Fish, but it was actually Catch 22. Like that was like a huge thing on the Napster era for me, like downloading songs that were always, or it would be like Nirvana, but it would be labeled like Marcy's Playground or something.
I don't think I've run into any issues with that I can remember. Most of the stuff that I downloaded from Napster, I wound up purchasing in the end. So it would have been like some like long distance cross-referenced thing that sort of I would have picked up on. But yeah, I don't have any stories of like, oh, I thought it was something else. Yeah.
I stuck it out for LimeWire, and then that's where I kind of gave up on my illegal so many viruses later.
Oh man, I've left my computer smoking on the
Yep.
Yeah. No, I honestly don't. I can't think of anything that I really downloaded off of Napster anymore.
Man, I know with God, it's been between the kids and the COVID. I'm sure for all of us, it's been at least over a year, most likely, since we've been to like a proper concert. I don't know if 2021 will be exactly what we're looking for. At least
not in terms of that.
No,
not like a concert like the way they used to be, in our countries at least. But like, man, I do think about that. I just like,
I missed the. I've worked a lot of concerts, and there's nothing quite like the roar of an audience when something baller is happening on stage.
Yeah.
Concerts. This question comes up a lot in terms of when I'm talking to people who are also in the industry, the live event industry, wondering like if it's ever going to get back to normal. And my answer is yes, it'll get back to normal, and it's going to be booming.
Mm-hmm.
Because like look at some like theater's been around for thousands of years, and like plagues have come through and just like wipe out a third of the population, for example, and like they're still doing it. But now we've got like technology on our side, and once COVID is reduced to a shot in the arm and things pick back up, I'm guessing 2023 would be my guesstimate that anyone who can afford a ticket to see a live show is gonna go see a live show, and it would be the thing to do.
Yeah, like I think that's one of the things that people like you just didn't realize. Like, so I work at a hospital, so I was the first phase of the vaccine. And like I was like, I remember before I even got it, I was like, I don't know if I can ever go back out. And I'm like, nope. I mean, I've been to restaurants. It's like, oh my God. The second you can, you're like, normalcy. I don't care about the mask. I'll just, I just need it. God, I know.
You gotta live your life, man. I mean, if it's not a disease and it's a war, if it's not a this, it's something else. Like, in the end, you've got 24 hours to do you and do you and yours, you know what I mean? And the disease, like, fuck, okay, yeah, you don't want it, fine, get a shot, and then you have to live your life. I'm moving thousands of kilometers away in the middle of a pandemic because I gotta do what I gotta do. It was my plan before this bullshit happened, and it still is the plan now.
Yeah, 365 days of waiting, so I give you a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Well, I did a couple of things. Well, I not reevaluated a couple of things, but I did a little bit of reprogramming on a fundamental level during this last 355 days.
too
That's
long.
good.
Podcasting during all this time too, like that's. I saw a lot of people quit. I saw a lot of people start, which I was like, oh, that's cool. And then there was a big boom and bust in the industry, which I was like, I remember the pandemic. I don't know if you guys had this, but like talking to some people, they're like, this is the end of podcasting. It's all over because the advertisers started getting scared. I was like, no, your listener habits just changed. The people who show up and who aren't really here for the long haul are just going to leave, and that's totally fine, like everything else.
Yep, exactly, like anything else. And that sort of marks it down to, I mean, the COVID situation is situational.
Right.
People are going to tune in and tune out for whatever reason. I would have figured it went the other way around, that anybody with a microphone and an internet connection would have been finding a way to webcam something and like get in touch with somebody. You know what I mean? But I guess if podcasting is your jam, this would have been the perfect time to get into it.
Yeah,
that's all I've been doing.
It is something to say that like now it's weird that like us and like Ira Glass and NPR and all like and Conan, like all the big name people are recording in a closet. Like, there's something strange about how it kind of evens the playing field. It's like, me and like the top dogs are literally recording the same exact way nowadays. Cause like,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Me and Mark Maron he's in a garage and I'm in my daughter's playroom.
There's still a way to make the world turn, man. Like that just goes to prove what I was just talking about. Like, you adapt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you just do what you got to do, right?
So I love talking like kind of nitty-gritty stuff. Like, what's like the technical side? So your show, it's a podcast and you do radio. So like, are you in a studio? Or are you doing this out of your house, or like what equipment you got?
I'm doing that in my house. My equipment is it's definitely equipment. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just do it as I see it. To my right is basically the control center. I have all my like my first rack with some Bluetooth receivers, and a couple of CD changers, my headphone amp, and behind
CD
me is
changers. Oh my god, I forgot about
oh yeah,
those.
no, I've got like a 4 disc, not a CD changer, but like something like a CD DJ would use. You know what I mean? Like the two buttons, that kind of stuff. And then I have another wood rack, like a hand built rack over here, and I've got I got like 10 or 12 wireless mic receivers. So when I have guests on the show, as part of the aesthetic of like kind of like holding like a chill atmosphere, I'm not big on having like microphones and shit in front of my face. So I have a lot of lavalier packs and wireless receivers. So when people come in and sit down on like my couches and whatever, I just hook them up, and then all the headphones are running underneath. So now you've got this wide open space with no microphones and stuff in front of you, and it's very laid back. We all got to. I mean, there's some lights and stuff behind here, but like lighting obviously important. And let's see, I got a pretty beefy computer, which is built for audio and film editing. The whole show is run out of a tablet. I have a Midas MR18 preamp, which is Bluetooth, and that connects both to the computer and my tablet. So when you listen to a show and I'm saying what I'm saying, there's music underlying underneath. That is my tablet casting to one of the Bluetooth receivers. And so it's just me sitting, like I can control the whole phone, like show off of my phone if I wanted to, and you would never hear a dip in quality. The other thing that I'm a fan of doing is that I have 2 Bluetooth receivers and the CD players. The CD players are obviously to play the CDs, but if I've got like a band coming in and they don't collect CDs or they don't find anything in my collection that they like, what I asked them to do is have a playlist of like 20 or 30 songs or something like that, and they hook their phone directly up to that Bluetooth receiver, to which I have control over. So if they are like, check out my new song, or have you heard this new shit, or like you got to check this out, they can actually just intro the song and hit play on their phone, and it'll go straight to air. So everything is pretty wireless and hooked up in like a very clean, like. My setup's pretty fucking dope.
I can see the audio engineer background, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I'm precious about that shit.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the whole thing is that like obviously to have guests in and talk about. We don't have to talk about music. Like you could talk about whatever. I mean, like I'm a music podcasting, and we've been talking about all sorts of shit on this show, right? It's just sort of where the conversation goes.
Yeah.
But the idea is just to be like in a comfortable surrounding and talk with someone who just knows how to get a conversation going, and I think audiences want to listen to that. / music on the phone, and I've got my tunes here too, and we just throw some shit back and forth, and it's not all cluttered with mic stands and bullshit in your face. So
what bands have you had come through?
None, because of COVID.
Oh yeah, that would happen.
I haven't done anything. I have not ventured out into webcam territory because it's really hard to like get music and stuff across. This is actually like my first time in front of a webcam for podcasting, like period. And I was cool. Like I was trial running this experience with you guys. You also happen to be very easy to talk to, so that goes a long way. But no shit. Honestly though,
we try.
And it seems effortless, but fucking, it doesn't. I can't make that work for what I want to do.
Right.
Reason being is because if I were to talk to an artist or a bunch of people on Zoom or whatever the platform is, and they're not in front of me, the conversation I would find would steer towards something that they would typically talk about on another show, like how's their studio stuff doing? What are your influences? And they could hear that on radio station A, B, C, whatever. You can go listen to that. You know what I mean? You can go listen to them and find out all that shit. You come on my show and sit down in front of me in an atmosphere that you're comfortable in, and there's no microphones and shit in front of your face, and you got a guy who can push conversation and everything's flowing natural. You could talk about like how like that awesome knitting course you did right after you played that death metal show, and people are going to want to listen to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Natural conversation is natural conversation. Doesn't matter what the fucking topic is. It's just every once in a while you just throw some metal on the shit.
Yeah, I've always one of my favorite podcasts. Going off track, they always said it was supposed to, like, when it first started. I've gotten to interview 3 out of the 4 of the hosts. They say it's supposed to be like the green room. Like that was like because that's just like that's the most interesting stuff. Like I've had like I have friends and families and been involved in music scenes. Like I always say, like I always view music as like you musician types I always think are like magicians. Like I just don't understand how people play it. I love music. I can't make it, but I it's always so funny, like the bands that you like, what you would expect in the green room conversation to be, especially the older bands. Like my cousin Sarah played in Unwound, and then she was playing with Corinne Tucker from Slater Kenny, but maybe like 5 or 6 years back. And like I remember she was like they went to Japan, but they all brought their kids with them, and it just at some point it just turns into like a bunch of moms and dads with little kids and run out, play like a bunch of noisecore, and then come back, and then other times like that. Actually, do you know the band Red Fang by chance?
I know the name. I couldn't.
Yeah, that was my cousin's band. They're like big in Europe, but not as big here. But they're like a metal band, stoner metal band.
Nice. I can't wait to check out the scene in Toronto. I've been my last CD haul that I had dumped a months ago. It was mainly stuff from Montreal and Toronto, and I'm in for a treat. There's a lot of talent out there.
There's a lot of good shit.
There's a lot of good shit out there.
I don't know if this gets me laughed at by anyone out there, but I still love them. Silverstein, they were kind of like the first wave of that kind of screamo that people make fun of that I still love to death. But I know they're from Toronto. But I mean, Grade is from Toronto, which is like the birth of screamo. It's more our world. I don't know the metal too much about metal, but the one time when the Get Up Kids broke, when I was in high school, my friends, one of our favorite bands, the Get Up Kids, are breaking up, and we drove from Connecticut to Toronto. I think I was out of high school, maybe in college, just to see their final tour, because it was like childhood.
Oh man, badass!
It was one of the coolest things I've ever done, and Toronto is so beautiful. Oh my god, and the food was so good.
Oh
God, so diverse, just deliciousness everywhere.
I just can't wait to eat anything that I don't have to prepare for myself for once.
For real.
I went to 2 restaurants last week for the first time in a year, and it was pretty great. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I had ramen and oysters in 2 different days. It was.
Oh, I want me a bowl of ramen, actually.
It was good ramen, and my favorite ramen. I won't get off on a tangent about how much my favorite ramen place closed before COVID, and I'm still pissed about it. And I finally found a new place.
You did? Good.
Yeah, first world problems.
That's right. No
problems.
It's still problems.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'd like a good noodle,
I just want. I just want food. I just want to go sit in a restaurant and eat food.
It was pretty great. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, I'm going to be testing out some of Toronto's finest, most definitely, when I get out there.
Yeah, I haven't been in a long time, and the food was so good. And if I don't know how easy it is crossing the border. Buffalo, you can get they have a good food scene in Buffalo now too, especially outside of the wings as well. And it's still a couple hours.
I keep forgetting that is it Buffalo? That's right across there's a bridge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep forgetting. Like I'm only going to be like an hour away from the border. I'm definitely going to be going across there. I've never been to the States.
Oh, nice.
Never been.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
I almost got through that one.
It's a thing sometimes.
It's a country.
Yeah, I mean,
place.
Everyone is more than their government. So like I love living where I live, but I'm not.
Yeah, we're lucky to be on this side of the planet. I know that.
Yeah.
That's
all
true.
things considered. I'm like I love it here, but there's some complaints. But upstate New York too is a different world.
Yeah, I mean I got complaints about Canada too, man.
I want to go to Canada more. I'm still mad at myself for not like getting more time up there.
It's a little harder to get there right now.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, don't even worry about really traveling anywhere outside of your country at the moment.
Yeah.
If it's at all possible. But should you find yourself going to Canada at some point, like check out the Maritimes for sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, like Nova Scotia, Halifax, Cape Breton, Prince Edward Island, beautiful, and come in the fall.
Did you ever listen to Boys Night Out? They're from Nova Scotia.
Boys Night Out.
They were like a pop punk with breakdowns band. They're a little more early 2000s.
Late early 2000s. No,
they had a song like one of their more popular songs is like "I Got Punched in the Face for Sticking It in Other People's Noses." It's like a wedding singer reference. They were like kind of like a pop punk band. There was like a phase where like pop punk bands would like have like kind of metal hardcore screaming breakdowns, like pre-Fall Out Boy. Yeah, but they had their last album they did was a concept album, and it was one of the better records of that era that no one ever talks about, called Trainwreck, that I really loved.
No shit.
It was like, and I always loved, especially like in our scene, like a lot of bands from Canada would always kind of come through. I don't remember a lot of the names anymore, especially like in those like independent, indie, small like VFW hall scenes. Like there's a lot of bands that just broke up. Like I remember they're like X-Files X and like bands that like maybe did like they came to the States like once or something like that. It's harder for Canada to make it for you're so much more spread out.
Oh, so Canada's just one big rural spot with a couple of cities dotted in there.
Yeah, you can just fly from like Montreal to Toronto to maybe some Winnipeg and then Vancouver, and then you're done.
Yeah, basically. Canada's 5 airports.
Yeah. I know. It's so funny because Toronto.
Not one highway.
That's too funny. So how did you get into metal if you grew up in the sticks? Napster?
No, accident. So my first album, like I said, was Peace Sells, but Who's Buying Megadeth? Me and my younger brother, were in Walmart, and it was almost Christmas, and my favorite color at the time was red. And then we went into the CD section, and Mom gave us $20 each. We just were gonna buy each other a CD, and I can't remember what the other one. It might have been Kiss, and then I saw this red album with a skeleton on it, and I was like, I want that red one. And then he bought it for me, and that was that album. And I listened to it, and I didn't know what I was hearing, but I liked it. And as I got older, I started to understand what it was I was listening to, and then I started getting into stuff that sounded like that. I was looking for stuff that sounded like that, but Napster hadn't come along yet. So it was just a lot of like trial and error, buying like soundtrack CDs. Like Beavis and Butthead Experience was like I think the next album I bought, and that was the encyclopedia at the time for metal music.
Mm-hmm.
and then I just I just knew what I liked, and I grew up around like fiddle stomping, chase your sister around the bar and country music shit, and I just couldn't. It wasn't doing it for me at all. Like Rankin Family and stuff, talented and awesome, but just not my bag. And I got to a point where I was just kind of gathering all the heavy music that I could find, and then Napster hit, and then it was off to the races as quick as you can go with a dial-up modem. But it was
you mean you would download your album, go to bed, and wake up, and half of it would be downloaded?
Yeah, or get to 99%, and then the fucker on the other end will cancel it.
Oh, yeah, my mom would pick up the phone or something.
And then the $200 a month bills they would get, man, I got so much.
I know. I forget there's an era where like you couldn't use the internet and the phone at the same time. Like I forget that was the thing. Yeah. You pick it up and there's that noise like, Mom, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. I know. But that's how I got into it. And then as I got older, I started getting into the different subgenres. Like I started off on like I shouldn't say I started off on it, but like I went through a black metal thing with Jimmy Borgier, and I was liking the whole symphonic way of things. And then I stumbled across like In Flames. I was into that Gothenburg acoustic stuff. Like it was all good. Children of Bodom would come, and so like those were like sort of like the groundbreakers for me. And I would download. I got a hold of the name Cannibal Corpse and downloaded that. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. I couldn't handle it. It was just too much. I couldn't deal with it. And so I listened to the mellower side of stuff until maybe I started going to school for audio engineering, and I wound up working with a band who were into like some pretty intense and more intense stuff, and they introduced me to like Decapitated and like that kind of meaner, more visceral type of metal, and it was just like it was Off to the Races Part 2, and so like I just started fucking buying and buying and buying and buying and buying.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time anyone's ever used the word Cannibal Corpse on our show, and the fact that Robert even knew who they were and seen them, and you brought it up, is just really warming my heart right now.
Cannibal Corpse is one of the...
Were they in a movie?
Yeah, they were in
like a teen movie, right? Oh, Basketball, right?
No, Pet Detective, Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Basketball was Real Big Fish.
Thank you. Same band, right?
Yeah.
Completely same genre, ska.
Yeah, 100%.
Third wave, Orange County ska.
Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's too funny.
I was gonna say, yeah, when my wife was talking to me about the show and she mentioned Cannibal Corpse, and I was like, oh yeah, I saw them back in '97. She said, "What, you did what?" And I was like, yeah, that was back in my old high school days. And
that's bad, man.
So
what year did you say that was?
97, probably 97, because that would have been Metallica's. That was the first tour that they did after they cut their hair, and Cannibal Corpse was opening for them.
Oh god, yeah.
Maybe that was 96. I don't remember now.
Do you remember when Alice in Chains did MTV Unplugged, and I think it was the guitarist wrote, "Friends don't let friends cut each other's hair on the guitar"?
Yes.
Like that was like a thing when Metallica cut the hair, and I've never been the biggest Metallica fan. I enjoy some of their songs. I enjoy them in the same way I like Lady Gaga. Like I like a few songs.
I get you. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
They took the wrong stance on Napster.
No, I ended up going to see Metallica. That was when I was big into my Tool phase too. So
you were a Tool fan, Robert?
I love Tool.
Thomas, look what you're doing to us, man. I didn't know this.
I tried. I couldn't do it.
Same.
That was my big thing in high school. Me and my best friend, we listened to lots and lots of Tool.
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of nu metal friends in high school, which led me to better music. Which there's some good nu metal, not a lot, but Tool was one of those bands I could just never get into.
Yeah.
I did try. I had 10,000 Days, and I gave it. Like, I'm not denying that it wasn't good. I just, for some reason, it just didn't click with me.
Yeah.
What's the other super famous album of theirs? I had two of them, and they're in there somewhere.
Anima and
that's the ones. Yeah.
And he owns like a winery now.
Most likely.
Yeah. Oh no, there's like a documentary about it. He's like huge in the wine world. I love that stuff when people have like take a second, like you just stuff. Like I remember a few years back, maybe like a decade now, I listened to Slash was on the Nerdist podcast. It's called ID 10 Teen Time. And so you're like, oh, that's cool. He's going to talk about Guns N' Roses. Like exactly what you were saying, Thomas, about like, I was expecting those questions. The dude got on there and spent an hour geeking out and nerding out about dinosaurs and paleontology and how he used Guns N' Roses as his avenue to go travel the world to befriend various paleontologists. And you're just like, huh? And that's what I love about this stuff.
Wouldn't that be enthralling to listen to than him rehash the same scripted, this is how we recorded Paradise City?
Axel's a piece of crap. I get it, but I need money.
Yeah, talk about dinosaurs, man.
Yeah, for real.
I'd rather hear him go about like a Diplosaurus or something than like being like, yeah, that I wrote, this is a Bob Dylan song originally. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Yes, the show is late. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you skipped the 80s, but that you came into it with the Megadeth and not like, Van Halen. Not anything wrong with 80s hair metal, but,
What's that, sorry?
I was going to say, that's a little different Van Halen to Megadeth, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you started with Megadeth, the cool one.
I started off with a cool one, or at least I thought it was cool. People at school did not think it was cool.
That's how you know it's cool. Well, in my high school, they all like Dave Matthews.
I didn't know that at the time.
It's like Megadeth in the 80s there was some feathered hair going on there.
Oh yeah, the jeans are too tight, and the fucking white pumps are sticking out, and they look like they shit. Oh yeah, small leather jackets and shit. Yeah.
and then and I remember being when I was younger, I was really into hip hop. I grew up in a very urban area, and then like it was that Anthrax was, I think that Anthrax Public Enemy song was like my first introduction to like that type of rock and of like metal, however old I was. And I was like, oh, guitars and rap?
Yeah, and it can work.
Yeah.
It can work.
Especially I'd say now, like music's all like the mono genre, like all the people all like the rappers today are doing pop punk music, and all the pop punk people are doing rap music. It all kind of meshed into one. Like Machine Gun Kelly put out a pop punk album, and it's really good. And it's just shit. Absolutely. I like that. I like when people kind of mesh with genre.
Right. Yeah, like it's really sweet when you can take your influence and sort of make something that you can that is totally legit and saying it's original. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can tell when it's it's packaged artificial garbage.
Yeah,
and then you can tell when it's like people are really trying to push the creative boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. That's another reason why I'm looking forward to having people on the show, so I can kind of get their firsthand perspective on how they pump shit out. Should they choose to talk about it?
And being in Toronto, man, you're gonna have so many bands coming through. People who live in Toronto, but that's like a major market, you know.
Toronto is like
big
the
time.
hub. It's the hub. It's one of the most culturally diverse countries in the world. I mean, there's I won't say everyone's there because that's not true, but like there's millions of people. You know what I mean? And it's only be right for the pickings. As soon as everything is reduced to a shot in the arm in terms of COVID, like my door is open.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least in the States, I mean, they just released that information that vaccinated people can be around each other unmasked or whatever. And like with COVID, there's never going to be a day that like it's all gone. It's going to be like little step by step. Like the second I heard that news, I was like, all right, I'm going to find a studio. I'm finding another person that's vaccinated, and we're recording in person. Because like the second, so I'm like, I think you're going to be there a lot faster than you think you are. I think we're all like just dying for it.
Yeah, we're all aching for it. It's common though.
As
long as we all do our part and be diligent, et cetera. But like it's coming. Like it's worth, and it'll be worth the wait too. And everyone's gonna hopefully have shit to say because everyone's been indoors doing nothing forever. But and on the other side too, people are just going to be itching to conversate. And I'm thinking that being in this particular kind of entertainment pool, as it will, like with like talking on podcasts and stuff like that, people just want human interaction. And so like you're going to see webcam sales go way fucking down.
Oh, yeah.
People are just going to want to hang out and talk and shit. So
that's true.
Microphone in their face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
the pendulum will swing the other way.
Yeah, couldn't find one a year ago, but now.
Yeah. I almost bought 3 not too long ago. I wanted like different angles and shit. Mm-hmm. Mess around with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, virtual production is going to be the next big boom.
Yeah. Which is that?
Virtual production. Like I think that's here to stay for the long haul. Like a director friend of mine, he's like getting really into that stuff for like venues and for his own like personal stuff. And like, that's all the equipment sales are coming in for that right now. Like it's
virtual,
so like virtual production. Yeah, like like the Golden Globes or on the Tonight Show or whatever. They consider that like this is how we look. Like I've done some of these with like directors, and they look like movie quality through the webcam. I don't understand the tech. They're like, well, I just ran my camera through blah 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 and plugged it into the USB. I was like, okay, it's only $6,000. I'm like, yep, don't have that, but cool.
Yeah,
cool. But no, I feel I'm totally with you. I think that will be the next generation. Will be the opposite. It'd be like right now, it's very much like let's record this moment so we can share it with the world. And eventually, it would be like the opposite. Be like, let's have this moment and have it private, and that will be even more valuable.
See, that's a very, very nice thing to. That's a nice sentiment actually, because there is something to be said just about sharing a moment and making sure that you're not carrying a camera around that kind of record that stuff. I'm not big on like taking pictures with my phone or whatever. You know what I mean? I hate using Instagram and that kind of stuff. I'm not walking around capturing my life with a device in front of my face. it's the worst, right? But I mean, these are the times, I'm talking to two like-minded people a million miles away in front of a little gadget. Sometimes you can't beat it, but there is something to be said for like just genuine human interaction. You know what I mean?
I know. I just want to sit in the back of a van before a show and just talk about nothing.
Well, I mean, and we've been talking about live event production, but and I wholeheartedly agree with you. We're gonna get there, and just like after the 1919 pandemic, I mean, what happened after that? The Roaring '20s. People dressed up to go everywhere.
Everywhere, and shit was happening all over the place.
It was crazy.
It's got, like, mark my words, whoever's listening, it's gonna happen. Just hang in there, like, it's coming, man. Like,
it's gonna be
and
so
a lot of people have been having such a fucking hard time too. Like, just like, I know tons of people left the entertainment industry, people bailing at a theater, and just like, going back to school and trying to figure something else out. People breaking up, domestic issues, that kind of stuff. And it's just, there's just hold. I can't see anything more other than just like hold on, like it's gonna get better. It's gonna get so much better.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's one of the flip sides of the pandemic is like, I remember like in the summer we had like the first time we had like a little bonfire with like a couple of people over. I felt like I was at a wedding. I was like, everything was amplified by 10. You're like, oh my God, this is the greatest experience.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you ever see those memes? It's like missed concerts. Well, that's actually a picture of the floor or something like that. And you look at it, you're like, oh God. Like,
yeah.
I mean, pre-COVID, I was totally complaining. I would be like, the idea of going to a concert and it's like, oh, I'd have to stand up and I know. Oh my God.
I just all this loud music and people being around me. And
I just get home late, the whole thing. And there was a period in my life where like I would just go to a concert even if I didn't like the artist because it was just like the thing to do. Like we would just go to like the big venue in like either the punk show or even in the summer, like especially like those big amphitheaters. Like you just buy a ticket to something you're like don't even care about because you just hang outside and talk all night with your friends. And like, oh my God, never tailgating. I haven't done that in years because I'm a dad, but God, I forgot about that.
Well, and sometimes I always thought that like just going to a random show, although I stopped going to shows after a while just because it reminded me too much of work. But just going to see a random thing sometimes introduced me to something that I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
And ended up loving. So that's an experience that I can't wait to get again.
Yeah, you guys are hard to impress for like musicians. Like the people who work at a venue are the hardest fit people to actually impress because you've seen everything. Like nothing phases you anymore.
That's because they're jaded.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's because they're jaded. I take it from someone who is jaded from doing millions of shows and shit. Like, you're not wrong, but there's a reason.
Yeah.
Even like working backstage at theater, like it just, the applause became a drone after a while. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So after like the 10th concert going to with my wife, and I was trying to explain to her how they did things, she's like, "No, stop talking." I was like, "Well, that's how they do this, and then this is gonna happen." She's like, "Okay, no, just we're done."
We're done. You can totally see that.
Yeah, I do miss it.
That time goes by really fast. Is there anything that we missed?
I don't know. You asked me, I'm the guest.
Robert, anything? I know I was trying to let Robert talk more, but I'm not so good at that.
No. So, no, I think we actually covered pretty much everything, and I'm jealous of your setup. So
yeah, before you got out, we were just talking about like, man, we're gonna do this, and actually, before we start kind of wrapping up, I'd love to hear like, well, so what are you spinning, and like, what should we all like check out and listen to? Any era of music that like, what's your like some bands we should all go check out?
Okay, right now I would try. I'll give you some good old Canadian content because it's sort of blowing me.
Yes, please do.
There's a band called. Let's see now. I'm just looking at the stack. Panzerfaust, Panzerfaust, very unique type of like like it sounds like black metal, but it's got like the anger of death metal kind of thing. It's very good, very very war themed. It is they got the heaviest version of Flanders Felix. No shit, it's awesome. There's Tomb Mold, very good old school death metal stuff. Let's see now. Breed Hammer, VREDE Hammer. That is some very like accessible, like aggressive death metal. Very quick drumming, 300 beats a minute type stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
You can make sense of what they're doing. It's not just a battering ram smashing your face flat.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like hooky earworms, like in the guitars and stuff like that. Very, very good stuff. And one more that I'll give you guys that you must check out would be a band from New Zealand called Organectomy. And they are slam. But if you're slam is something that can be, when it's done wrong, it's done wrong.
Sure.
Really, there's some shitty slam out there, but there's also some wicked slam out there. And when slam is done right, it's like can be some of the best stuff. Like Organectomy is one of the best bands I heard of so far last year. They're 2 albums deep. Yeah, just fucking check it out. Or you can check out the show because they're staples. They're like they all have a home on Evisceradio for sure. Like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, let's get. Yeah, I was gonna say, where can people find you online?
You can check out Pure Rock Radio at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time Mondays for a 2-hour show. There's the 1 hour album showcase long play edition that I play an album which is guaranteed to be kick ass from start to finish without my bullshit and interjecting in between the two of them, right? Just so you can listen to an album start to finish. And that is Fridays 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. And if you are not huge on punctuality, I archive all my main shows on evisceradio.com. I don't archive the album playthroughs because you can just go to YouTube and check that shit out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's where you can find it.
Awesome. Robert, what about you?
Mainly just on Twitter now. Finally got rid of all the other ones, but you can find me on Twitter at RebenJam.
I find everything we're doing, podcasts, our video podcast, Let's Chat Podcast.net, and I'm at Let's Chat Rebel on Twitter, Instagram, and I like this idea of getting rid of one of them, though. Just anyone out there, I think Twitter is the best of all of them, but yeah. It's also the one I want to get rid of the most, so take that with what you will. Oh, excellent, man. This has been so much fun. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
Oh, great.
Yeah.